They're really late though, I think. Yeah.
And another. Trouble ahead.
Damage being activated.
Hey, any left?
Hey everyone, I wanted to make a really fun video focusing on the Flanker class today. So I think that the Flanker class is really misunderstood in the War Robots Frontiers community, and so I wanted to bring some knowledge over from my previous MOBA games that I've played, like Dota, Han, League of Legends, in order to sort of like focus on how you can play these classes to their best potential. Barring the lighters with the invisibility previously in the seasons, flankers were really common then, and that was more just because it was kind of a crutch. Invisibility turned off enemies' auto aim assist, and so it just sort of took advantage of the difficulty of dealing with them until people figured out how to aim. But now I've noticed flankers have really dropped off, and so I want to just highlight some of the builds that I play, and then I'll just discuss tactics on how to run a flanker very efficiently for the game and what your role is and what your role is not. Okay, so I might use the term gank or gankers interchangeably. So that just comes from previous games. Ganks is when you try to find an enemy out of position and take them out. That can be with a teammate or without. Flankers are going to specialize in doing that. And then barring enemies not being out of position, your job is to try to get around the enemy's formation and try to be in position to cause chaos when the team fight initiates. Typically, you don't want to be the initiator because you're so fragile. You want the team to sort of start to move up and draw their attention away, but there are some exceptions. Certain abilities can be really powerful on flankers. Notably, Disarm is quite valuable, as this can hit up to 3 enemies. And so if you have the ability to pick which 3 you hit with that, it can be a game changer in team fights. Granted, you really want to make sure that your team is in position and moving forward before you initiate, because seconds matter for the initiator, and if your team is even 2 seconds too late, it's over and you'll get taken out. So I've started to just play it safe and tell the team, okay, if you initiate right now, I'm going to disarm their 3 most deadly targets. Okay, so in general, summing up, flankers' jobs is to take out enemies really quickly that are out of position, and they're designed to do a lot of damage very quickly. However, they're contingent on their cooldowns more so than other builds. So like you often need your abilities to land in order to set up a successful kill. They're designed to do a lot of damage really quickly, and then the longer the fight goes on, the worse it starts to be for you. So you don't want to target things like tanks, people who are running the Scrambler ability, the Ravana torso, anything that's got super high armor, usually more than what you can put out in one magazine of your weapons, are usually not great gank targets, and those are ones that you'll need a teammate to help you with if you do want to take them out if they're out of position. So my most true flanker is probably the Tusk. You'll have hybrid roles, by the way. So like a lot of times tacticians and flankers can be interchangeable on parts. My Ares one, for example, is designed to keep up the shields and soak up well over 100,000 damage, especially when you factor in the pilot perks here that all give me more shields, plus damage reduction, and then also a disincentive to even target him. So there are hybrids. My most true flanker, though, is going to be this Tusk build I'm working on right now. So let's just talk about what the typical stats are that flankers prioritize. We'll start with the shoulders, just because this is pretty there's like virtually no exceptions. Because you need to run pretty light, in order to be a flanker and be mobile, you're going to need a very high shield pool. You care less about shield regeneration and cooldown reduction, as you're not really getting your shields back during a gank. You just need to be able to keep the pool up somehow, either with pilot perks and with the base pool amount. So that's why the Loki shoulders here are high shields. I haven't leveled these up, but I am looking forward to it, though. Look at the amount of shields you're going to get with these things. Holy. It's basically the Ares for flankers. Well, I guess the Ares are a flanker, but it's the lightweight version. Okay, so that's what your shoulders need. How many weapons you sponsor on them is going to be up to what you can afford. In this case, I'm running 3 Tusks, which are super high energy, so there's no point going for a 4-weapon build, as I will not be able to run supply gear and cycle gear then. Okay, the next one is going to be your leg type. So what are the stats we value here? Usually max speed is quite valuable, although keep in mind with ganks, your fights are very short time frame, and so fuel and acceleration end up becoming really valuable as well. Fuel is basically a higher max speed for the short term, and also gives you really high acceleration for that brief window. So Fuel is, I would say, probably superior. However, max speed is still very important because once you've done the gank, you need to get out of there before the enemy team can jump on you. And so if they're catching up to you while like over time, then you're going to get caught up to and probably like snap freeze or whatever and get killed. So yeah, max speed is valuable. Acceleration is really good for like manipulating around cover and preventing the enemy from wiggling out of your gank. And fuel capacity is also quite valuable. You can supplement both of those, though, with supply gear. You can either run Sprint Reactor. Fuel Reserve is quite valuable for making up for legs that don't have great fuel capacity. And then Blink is really good for getting out of there as it's disorientating. Also, it's got a very short cooldown. If you level it up, you'll notice it's only 15 seconds. So you can often get to use that twice in a fight. Okay, so that's legs, priorities, shoulders, pieces. And then your torso will often be either a tactician or a flanker. A couple different options here. So in general, flankers / gankers have 3 abilities. And this goes for pretty much every MOBA, and including this one and the Titan flanker, which is the Grim. You're going to have a disable, something that makes it easier for you to win the fight somehow, whether that be a snare like that holds them to the ground or a mini stun, something like that. Snap freeze is really powerful for that. This is basically a stun but without the weapon restriction. It's something to either hold them still or make them weak or unable to mount an offense to you while you do your gank. You'll have a escape ability. In this case, I'm running Sprint Reactor, but there's plenty of options here. A really notable example would be the Translocator ability. This is really good for flankers as it's essentially a built-in escape. You'll have a very large pool of damage. And that can be either just with your weapons. It can be based on your gear. Like, for example, the attack turret can melt shields really quickly for you. And then the cycle gear, I would just draw a very notable point here, which is that gankers need to be able to gank right at the start of the match usually, unless your build is designed to operate as a tactician that plays more as a supporting role out back until you've charged your gear. So don't make your build too centered around the cycle gear. The cycle gear is basically just a bonus. It's like it makes your next gank easier. I'm running Gamma Beam here to strip shields before I start dumping in the Tusk, as the Tusk's big weakness is the magazine size. So if I can't kill them in the first magazine, then instead what I'll do is I'll burn off the shield with the Gamma Beam before starting to shoot them with the Tusk. But I only need that for like beefier opponents, and so that's kind of why I'm not dependent on the cycle gear. It's just nice when I have it. It allows me to take down a more powerful enemy. So yeah, those are the 3 ability types you'll typically see as the general flanker archetype. If I were to take a look at the Grim, you'll see that that's all carrying over true here. We've got our high damage ability, which is like basically our DPS gank successful initiation option. So if we get a good gank or initiation, we activate this. We've got an escape ability, which is a teleport. And then we've also got a snare or disable. So that's kind of what's applying here. So when you're running flanker, the most important skill by far is map awareness. And now that's a skill that should be for every player, because you always need to know where all the enemies are as much as possible in order to know what areas of the map are dangerous, safe, where the enemy's starting to fall out of position, where they're weak, where they're strong, etc. But especially so for flankers, because your job is literally to be looking for people out of position or for opportunities to penetrate into the enemy region of the map safely and then set up for a team fight where you're going to be able to cause chaos at a moment's notice, whether that be, for example, on this flanker that I run with Disarm. If I can take out 3 very painful opponents' weapons for quite a long time, depending on the weapon type, like if it's a long reload like the Zeus or something, or like the Tusks or Lighters, whatever, these things get multiplied by 150% for 6 seconds. I don't actually know if it decays away back to the regular reload speed or not after that 6 seconds, but the point is you make a super long reload that can turn the tide of a team fight by a massive swing. That's your general rule, though, is try to find enemies out of position, try to push your opponents into a smaller area of the map by controlling areas that they haven't defended adequately, and also to do objectives. So you're really good at backcapping, which is something you would typically do when the enemy is just stomping and pushing you into your base spawn and they have all the zones. You can sneak by, backcap, give your teammates a safe place to spawn, and that'll allow them to then flood out through the map and cap all the zones that are not being defended while they're pressuring your main zone. You're also really good at getting ahead to the warp zones when they're in Spearhead. You can get there early while doing it safely because you're quite good at taking on one opponent anyways. So like even if you run into an enemy out there, as long as they don't have teammates, you're able to take them out quickly and continue onto the zone. So yeah, that's the flankers general rules. Let's go ahead into some matches, and I'll just offer some commentary there and just discuss how, like, when I see an opportunity to initiate, why I know it's safe and when it's not, etc. Something I'll also mention too about flankers is the importance of camera control. So I have the DualSense Edge controller. I'd advise you have it, or I don't know if you can rebind your keys in this game or not, but having the ability to change your camera without letting go of the right thumbstick is huge. I use the right paddle for this, and then I use my left paddle for activating my ability without letting go. So yeah, that's I guess that would be square for us. Anyways, when you're moving as a flanker, it's very important to always be peeking corners before you go around them when there's the risk of the enemy being there, as you don't want to spook the enemy and or more importantly, let yourself be popping up on their maps. So like if they're looking at you, you know that it's not safe to move forward. If they turn to look the other way, that's your opportunity to sort of advance and get a better position. But doing this and then switching to center view right before you initiate, if possible, will make it a lot easier to aim once you get in close. So yeah, I typically am constantly swapping my camera and looking for the best opportunity to set up a gang. So for example, if this was an enemy, I know right now they're looking the wrong way. It's going to let me get close, which is even going to let me get the gamma beam off to burn off the shield, and then go Death Ray to Tusk to do my gank combo, basically. Yeah, so camera control, just basically having good awareness of how this works, and if possible, trying to get switched to center view before you start the fight. You may not always have that opportunity or just not have the attention or like remember to do it, but if you can do it, it makes it very easy to target some of those trickier modules. For example, like if you're hitting the pelvis of the target rather than accidentally hitting the legs with the side view, it can be a little tricky to line it up. Granted, if you have cover, then you want to stay in the peak view, as this allows you to pre-aim before you go around the corner. Okay. Okay, depending on the game mode, at the very start of the fight, often you are looking to flank and get into position to hit the enemy from behind. So like, for example, the fight is going to be heading towards that spear zone, so I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to try to sneak in without getting spotted and look for opponents to be looking the wrong way so I can hit a juicy target here. Now keep in mind, this is costing your team, so you want to minimize the amount of time you're sitting here idle, because they're technically outnumbered right now, and you do want to warn your team if they're not like familiar with flankers. Hey, I'm not there. Don't get too greedy on the push here, because you are fighting one extra mech for a second. But once the fight starts, I can look for either somebody to get wounded by my team. In this case, this guy is completely unaware, so I can snipe a free kill there. But if they're not wounded, it doesn't really matter. We've got the ability to take out opponents. Another really powerful strategy is to look to target down their best player at the beginning of the fight and try to bot them out early. If you can convince a teammate to go in on a gang squad, is what I call them. Usually it's two flankers, but it can be anyone that's reasonably mobile. You can try to burst down that best player and run them out of bots early in the fight. Here we're going for a guy named Morsi, I think it was, as he was the highest level on their team. Now granted, you don't have to like get too obsessed with that goal, but just making sure every time he's noted or he's found that you rotate over and be ready to seize an opportunity to take him out. Trading bots one-to-one is not necessarily a good or a bad thing. It is, though, quite valuable usually to trade a bot for their best player. Now, that said, as the match goes on later, you want to prioritize starting to target their ones that are closest to being botted out so they can get a numbers advantage early. But yeah, here we're just really hunting down this guy named Morsi and trying to get their best player off the board as early as possible. Heals are quite good on flankers, by the way, because they have a small armor pool. Even like the flat number value heals that are just like a 7,500 or whatever, or 4,000, whatever. The point is, those, instead of percentage based, those are really good on flankers, by the way. Anyways, talking about trades, so think about your ganker bots as semi-expendable. It's okay to die with them as long as you're getting a net trade in your team's favor. Now keep in mind, if you keep trading aggressively, you could bot yourself out early if you're spreading it out on the enemy team's bots, and that means that your team's going to get a numbers disadvantage earlier. So usually you want to try to prioritize one person and to focus them with the gank bot, but then again, I guess what I'm trying to point out is that a lot of times people in this game seem to be a bit too obsessed with keeping their bot alive, and then they end up with all their bots at the end when the enemy team is at least got one bot each, and then they wonder why they just get crushed with those 6 bots. You should think of your bots as expendable in some sense, and that you're looking to do net trades in your favor for the team. So a gank bot that gets 2 kills is pretty much right off the bat a net trade win. A gank bot that takes out their best player frequently is totally worth dying frequently at the beginning of the map if you take out all of his like early bots. Yeah, just think about the battlefield as a net whole rather than just your individual game. It's not about keeping yourself alive, it's about taking out the enemy's resources in a way that makes your team in a better resource situation.
I'm indeed great. Huh? I'm over here fighting 2 with Terra. Alright, let me help kill this person.
There you are.
So here I'm trying to let them know that I'm about to initiate from their right side. I'm going to disarm them because there's 3 enemies on the map we can see here, and there's also some on the right side. So I know that we've got the opportunity here to... we just got a kill as well, which means that it's even more in our favor because now we have a numbers advantage. So I let them know, and I go in for the kill. Unfortunately, they don't start moving in, but this is a good way to show just how tight the timing is on team fights. Notice they're not really moving right now. Now they just started, but it's far too late, right? They had to start moving right as I went in. But those 2 that were critical could have been wiped out as well. We could have got a triple kill there for nothing for the team. But this just is a great way to show how important communication with your team is, and also the understanding for them about just how tight the timing is on team fight initiations. A half a second is all they got. Any later than that, and like a second or 2 is an eternity in this game. Bots can live or die in under a second when they're getting initiated on. You can knock out bots extremely quickly. Now, opportunities for a good team fight initiation are when you have a numbers advantage, when you have a health advantage, and when you have a position advantage. So if you've got 2 enemies that are red right now, and you've got 3 teammates at full health, it doesn't matter that it's a 3v3. Start the fight and just quickly pressure them before they can get reinforcements over there in order to tilt the odds back in their favor.
You there?
Yeah, I'm trying to shoot this guy, but for some reason it's not hitting.
You weren't moving on our screen.
I must be disconnected.
Wow. Yeah.
Freezing up.
Okay. Yeah.
Enemy disarmed.
Everybody's froze. I don't know what to do.
So here we do a successful initiation on 2v2, but because we have a health advantage and my teammate responds immediately, we completely knock these 2 out before they have a chance to even respond or really even pop any gear. So he's reconned them for me, lets me know there's no one else. Disarm goes out, we take out the full health one, which lets the second guy, who's more of a cleanup, happen extremely quickly. Sometimes you have to alternate up your combo, so this is just a good example of using Snap Freeze as my escape method. I see a Grim on the map moving towards us, so I keep my Snap Freeze at the ready in case he snares me, which he ends up doing. So he throws a snare out, that lets me know I need to Snap Freeze him, and this basically allows me to escape for free. So sometimes you will end up using certain abilities in the different order than you typically would, but not something you want to strive for, but sometimes circumstances kind of put it out of your control. And then just showing some successful ganks here. So you can see I'm always positioning on the flanks of my team, trying to hide and bait enemies forward so that I can turn it into a 2v1 rapidly. So here the Snap Freeze does the work here, and you can see how quickly you can knock out enemy opponents when you have a teammate backing you up. Granted, most of the damage is the Tusks here. Here's a funny one coming up. Actually, I think it might be the next clip, actually. But again, just keep in mind, I'm staying on the flanks of my team. I'm the best one to be in front, as I have one of the best escape abilities, and I've also got a secondary escape with Snap Freeze. Here I see 2 opponents moving up, so notice the very careful attention to trying to not be visible to them, so I can bait them in deep and set them up for my teammates to jump on them. Here, the Snap Freeze is doing the work again, separating the 2 and making them so it's just basically a gank. With no hope of escape. It is also important to pick your target carefully. So a lot of times, if you have the time, see which one is a big threat if you Snap Freeze the other one, and try to focus the one down that will spoil your gank. So like, if you see one guy with artillery and one guy with like Punishers, go for the Punisher guy first, because the artillery guy is not going to be that good up front. This one was just kind of funny.
Enemy blinded.
I just flashbanged Bard, and he got hammer. He triggered the hammer and went into it himself. If you're not able to position on the flanks due to map restrictions or positional restrictions, staying behind your team but close enough to pounce as soon as the opportunity is needed will allow you to rapidly bleed out opponents, as you can see there. The Tusks are really slept on, by the way. I'm behind you. Okay, and just another like how your match will typically start. I'm just going to the extreme flanks here, trying to limit the ability for the enemy to see me. If you have Sprint Reactor, it's often worth popping right at the beginning of the map because it'll be off cooldown if it's maxed out anyway by the time you get in a position, or you need to use it to escape. But here I just sit and I'm waiting in this position so that I'm not overextended. If the enemy team pushed me like 6 on the, or like a whole bunch on this side, I'd want to be able to back up to my teammates. But once I see the enemy position start to migrate to the other half of the map, and I'm a bit more confident that I'm at least not at a major numbers disadvantage here, I can use the opportunity to creep in deep and try to get a lock on a pretty vulnerable enemy. Take the time if you have it. Like if you get the jump on somebody and you get close, observe what kind of torso they have and what ability they're going to use. If you know what to expect as soon as you get the jump on them and they panic, a lot of times it'll help you know how to better initiate. So for example, if I see an Ares, I know I'm going to want to be ready to jump straight up as soon as I start hitting them and they turn around and activate the ability. Not right away, but as soon as they activate it, so I can start shooting down. Here I see I've got the drop on a Shock Trainer. Looks like no Ares, so nothing to worry on that front. And if it's a clone or whatever, I can also keep my eyes out for that. You notice I don't disarm until I'm actually having to reload as well. That's more efficient. It lets me get that second magazine of lighter in earlier. I want them to have a little bit of time to shoot me, but not enough to bleed off my shields, as that'll give me even more precious time to get the second magazine shooting. But yeah, just a good example of like how a typical gank will operate at the beginning of the map. And then once I'm in position, they may or may not have called out my location to the team. Once I notice that they're not really migrating to me, or at least this guy isn't, I realize that it's another free gank because they didn't call out my position enough, or at least some of them didn't pay attention. And I'm able to snag a second kill. Okay, and then I'm just going to narrate a whole match here, as I felt like this one did a really good job of showing both how to use the flanker in general, but also the Ares is, I think, the one that you should probably start with if you want to learn. I'm going to focus more on just kind of drawing your attention to the map and things that I'm calling out. I don't have my mic on here, so you can't hear me like I don't know, quote unquote ordering the team, but I am kind of like steering the team here and letting them know like what the enemy team is doing, just so that I can take some of the mental load off of them of map awareness. I like to do the north, south, east, and west on the map rather than left to right, because keep in mind left and right is relative. So the first thing I'm doing at the start of the map is just trying to gauge where roughly the team is leaning or starting to stack up. Sometimes they'll go more on the right or the left, and you want to know that in advance so that your team can start jockeying back over to that side and getting ready to stuff their advances. So here they looks like they're roughly an even split, and we're also going to focus their 2 best players again, so anyone who sees them calls them out. I think Sticky and one other guy. We're going to stuff a lot of ganks here. So they're going to try to flank us on the left side. I'm intentionally staying out of sight here so they don't know I'm around this corner. Occasionally I'll pop out, but I am trying to bait some of their team into pushing on the left side or the north if you want to work that way. As you can see, one guy's rotating right now. You'll notice I'm constantly pinging the enemies for our team, trying to let them know where the enemy is moving and getting ready to push from. So this guy's coming around the north. He ends up jockeying back, or sorry, sliding back over, but so now I see he's moving there. You can see us spamming the pings. I'm not going to jump on him too early. I want him to get in a little overcommitted. Now we're good to go. Once he initiates on one of our teammates here, I can start the gank. The reason I start with Ares is because a lot of people that are running meta are relying on the acid shotguns. The Ares shuts down acid shotguns primarily because it shuts down the ricochet perk. They don't ever hit your modules, they're hitting the shield, and so they never get a chance for that double damage and double dot damage. And the Ares damage itself is extremely powerful, so it's a great way to melt down even pretty tanky bots.
Yep. I don't know who this big
we still only know where roughly 4 of the enemy is right now. 1 in spawn, 3 on the southeast corner. They try to go in for another gank on the left side. Again, we're leaving it almost like a little bit temptingly open here, but there's actually a ambush waiting around the corner. They fall for it twice before I think they realize. Throughout this match, this is going to become the main battleground. The reason we picked here once we had the lead is that there's lots of cover but more importantly, there's lots of cover to fall back to if we get pushed past our initial front line. If you get pushed all the way into your spawn, however, it's kind of a shooting gallery, and then you can't even push anymore. You have to go around. But it does give us a lot of ability to keep falling back, setting traps. Corners are great for flankers to hide behind, and so having all this cover means I can set multiple ambush points. You'll often see me run in front of the team whenever I see the acid shotguns are starting to push us, and that's because I have the best defense to shut down those builds, and I'll try to body block for my team. So the Ares, while being a flanker, is also a quite good initiator and defensive build as well. So that's kind of why I think it's a really good one to learn on, is when you make mistakes as a flanker, this thing has one of the best ways to sort of shut down their offense for a brief window of time as long as Ares is up.
Yeah, I gotta get out.
Here I'm just letting them know I saw them on the map starting to push deep on the southwest corner. You can see they're pushing there. That lets the team know to fall back into a new defensive line facing south. Meanwhile, I stopped the acid shotgun from advancing here, just letting them know I'm here. I don't activate the Ares just yet because I don't have the team here to support me and I'm not in critical danger, but you can see how I'm just trying to slow down the enemy's aggression and trying to dissuade them from pushing because I know that we've got some wounded teammates here. I'm pretty urgently calling out the team. You can see my mic going crazy there. I'm letting them know that these two are way too fragile to hold this advance, so we need to have some people rotate over. That will leave our southern flank a little open, and they are there, but that's not a huge deal. We don't need much time to shut down this push. We just need enough to... you can see I'm body blocking my team here and eating up all that acid, and then quickly going around the corner as soon as I run out of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to set up a flank now because I see that one of them is critical. We did lose a teammate and trade a teammate, and we are missing some people on the south side still. They haven't rotated over yet, so I'm just telling our teammate here that we need to back up because they're not rotating fast enough, and we aren't going to be able to hold this cover. This is a not great situation because, again, we have no more cover to fall back to now, and that means it becomes a shooting gallery, so I'm going to flank around the left side, I think, or it might be the right here, actually. It depends on where they are on the map. My Ares is back up, so I can get in front of the acid shotgun again. You can see how strong the Ares is, especially because it can shoot at such good range. It's just such a strong tool for fighting acid shotguns. Just keep in mind, it only protects you about like 120 degrees in front of you, so you can be shot from the sides. And so when you're pushing people, you have to keep that in mind. Oh, this is a good example. So when somebody goes up top, I'm a great build to shut down those people that go on the pipes. So again, flankers are really rapid at redeploying to new areas on the map. That's one of the main reasons I like them so much, is you can get so involved in the fight. Whenever an enemy takes a good position on your team, you're like the de facto one that's the best to rotate around because you can push them solo and usually win any 1v1. I do end up, I can't remember if I flopped the fuel hop here. I can't remember. Or if I pulled it off successfully.
We need to take that guy
Nope,
off that fucking roof.
Alright, so I call it a wash there just because I see some enemies are weak and I decide this is a great time to flank. I let the team know. You can see I'm talking. I'm telling them push now. I'm coming in behind them. I'm going to wipe these guys out that are weak. So we catch one standing. We got another one critical. Again, flankers are really good at mopping up these wounded enemies. This guy is really tanky, unfortunately, and I also miss a bunch, but we end up getting him anyways. And then I get out of there. After this, I'm going to rotate to my Tusk flanker, again, the more true flanker. I think I get capped here by missiles. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to run the Tusk flanker, and now I just, because I'm no longer dedicated at tanking down the acid shotguns, I'm going to expressly focus on flanking and looking for opportunities to sneak in behind the enemy line and take out all their squishies and cause chaos right before the team fight starts. So that guy's still up on the pipes here, and he is annoying with those missiles, so we do need to deal with him. Snap Freeze is going to come in clutch here. It allows me to just obliterate anyone I catch off guard from behind, so I really like this build. I really think the Tusks are slept on. So Snap Freeze him and just evaporated. So yeah, this thing is a really strong flanker build. But it's only a flanker build. It's not great unless you get the drop on people. That's kind of the quirk of ganking, is you need to have the initiative. the enemy is not really doing enough flanking here, and this is kind of what I was talking about earlier in the video about how flanking really seems slept on. You'll notice that the whole team just keeps coming to this shooting gallery where we have the advantage, not only because it's lots of cover for us, but because our permanent spawns, or our home spawn, is so close. That means our reinforcements arrive much quicker than theirs. So if I were them, they could really use more flankers right now coming around and hitting us from the south side in that little tunnel system I was just standing next to. They really should be sending in flankers there, but again, the community just doesn't really seem to appreciate or commonly employ flanking, that is to their detriment. The match kind of goes this way the whole time just because they never really initiate any counter flanks on us. Now granted, if you did flank from that side, you would have to be aware that anyone you kill is going to basically immediately spawn right behind you. So you wouldn't be able to go for like 2 kills, for example. As soon as you kill one, you got to get out of there, which is usually the case anyways with flankers. Yeah, so the charge shots on the flankers, or sorry, on the Tusks are really powerful too. Like they hit just as hard and they can reach out to quite an intense range. It's really good for like snagging those last hits where people are critical and kind of a bit of a ways away. Like something like this would be a good example. I don't get that one, but zooming in would have helped. Okay, so we got another guy going up on the pipes, which means we're gonna have to go around and do the same thing.
Down here behind us.
I think I messed this one up again too. It's weird. You have to take a running start at the pipes to get up there, but a lot of times the hit like the collision boxes are a little wonky, and you end up catching that corner that's sticking out.
He's dead. He's dead.
All right.
Alright, so yeah, you can sort of just count the map, count the enemies on the map. And you see, we only see one right now. We've got 2, one coming through the tunnel system, just flashed right there briefly. You can see how important it is to keep a close eye on it, because like a lot of times you won't get a lot of warning. You just get a brief flash when somebody catches sight of them. I think this guy's actually the pipe guy. Never mind, he's not the... Alright, this is a sniper. I think he realized I was coming up behind him, and I know how to get up there, and I think he ends up just jumping down, to be honest, because with 2 of us pestering him, he's in danger. Right now, the enemy if I were the enemy team, I would have called out that there's 2 trying to get up the pipes, which means that the rest of the team is outnumbered on the right side. That'd be a great time to push, because at most we've only got 4 players on that side, and they have 5 available. Plus the sniper up top can lend a shot or 2 if needed. But they don't really coordinate it, and then I rotate back over before they have a chance to. That was a good example of the sniping ability of the Tusk. Probably saw that damage there.
I have heals. Yo, Donald, get back right now for heals. Donald, get back right now for heals. Donald, get back right now.
Rotating in as your teammates lose their shields and start to take armor damage, you kind of want to swap people out. Here I can see a good opportunity to flank again because they're wounded and this guy's not backing up far enough. He tries to bait me, but I know that there's a weak one back here, so I focus him down instead. And then disengage.
Good job.
Yeah, going for the low-hanging fruit. It might sound cheap and cheesy. There's no such thing as a kill steal in MOBAs, though. You are all working together to secure the kill. So flankers are really good at finishing off the last hit. This is one of the reasons you don't often get a lot of armor damage as a flanker, though, because A, you're focusing weakened targets and soft targets, and B, you're usually targeting a single module, not with blast damage, and so you end up not getting like the multiplier where you're hitting multiple modules, increasing your damage. It only takes like 40,000 armor damage to kill a tactician, for example, so even if you had 10 kills, that would only be 400,000 armor damage, assuming you aimed perfectly. But yeah, because you target one module instead of multiple, that's why you won't get huge damage numbers. And unfortunately, there's just not a great reward for running flankers. That might be another reason a lot of people don't do it. But I love flanking. It's the most tactically... like, you have to be the most tactically perceptive, and also it's just really busy. Like, you got lots going on. You're always like rotating over. You're getting involved in the fights, reinforcing teammates, etc., etc. Looks like they had somebody leave here. Wasn't botted out though. Interesting. I was probably just checking there to see if he was botted out or if he just was getting frustrated. They do have some really good players on the team. I know there's I think there's 2 Nochium players. The 2 that I called out earlier. Alright, so I have to be careful. There's somebody on my south here, but then Alpha Titan out of position. This is an awesome opportunity to go for a flank. Alpha Titans are like the best target for flankers to focus. Alphas are not very good up close, and they're not like you're one of the few bots that can actually run faster than them naturally. Like I think they run at about 100 speed, and flankers a lot of times if you're running the faster legs, you're cruising at like 120 or so, 118 or in that range.
Heal.
We're a little clustered up here. You do want to try to make a firing line. You don't want to be bumping into each other, so trying to take separate pieces of cover, even if one of the pieces of cover is not optimal for your loadout. And that also goes for things like artillery. A lot of people with artillery say, "Oh, I can't go help this team fight even though it's 2v1 because I'm using artillery." I'm like, no, you still have a shield and you still have your presence. Like you can intimidate people, and they have to focus on dodging your weapons no matter how useless they are up close. This guy was getting frustrated. I could tell. They just like leaped right into my team with the matriarch to take me out. Now, granted, this is going to get him killed, but they were getting frustrated with my flanking on that build and just sacrificed his matriarch basically to take me out. So I call in the Grim, and I know he's spent his ultimate now, so there's nothing to worry about on that front. And I can just focus him down before the shotgun can kill me. I still wouldn't be able to take a matriarch if he had full shields and health, even if he didn't have his ultimate because of the shotgun's power. But it wasn't really relevant here because he was already so weak.
Pulling out matriarch right now. Who needs heals? Get back right now.
Here we're just calling in heals, trying to rotate our wounded teammates to the back line and letting everybody else rotate up front. Because we do have a healer. I think we have a matriarch on the team. I can't remember. Yeah, there we go. There's the matriarch. Trying to call people up, but we don't want to give up the line just to get the heals. Don't try to force heals, and especially not in the middle of a team fight or right before a team fight. It would be nice to get the heals beforehand, but you can't give up your line and allow them a free push without being contested. It's too even there. That it almost happened there. I ended up having to rush ahead and just sort of pressure them into backing off, or they would have crushed our line there because we had all of our wounded people rotating back, and the people that were full health didn't rotate in front in time. You always want to get the healthy people in front first, and then rotate the wounded ones back. That's more of a general team. I'm more commenting on the general team strategy here rather than the flanking stuff. But right now I don't have a great opportunity to flank because there's so many on the other side of that tunnel system on the southeast, so I can't really go push out there and flank. I could go the long way around, but with so many weak teammates, again, they really can't afford for me to leave and try to go for a flank right now because the enemy could just push right through if I was not here pressuring them to back off every time they start to move forward. And that was the match. Alright, so yeah, that's all the commentary I'll offer for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed.